হ্যালো,
হ্যালো অদিতি।
কেমন চলছে?
তো করে ঘুম থেকে উঠলাম স্যাটারডে।
That is the most Bengali answer that I have ever heard. এই ঘুম থেকে উঠেছি। সবাই এখনই ঘুম থেকে উঠছে। Where are you based again?
Indiana
Oh,
right now.
where in Indiana?
It's a small town called Terre Haute, like an hour from Indianapolis.
Mm.
Yeah,
What is the
but
name of it?
I'm, huh?
What Terra Hat?
Uh, Terre Haute,
Ter
Terre Haute,
Hut.
Terrehaute.
That's what I've seen. Terra Haut. Oh, interesting. So is this
Yeah,
kind of closest to Iowa? No.
no, no. It's a college town. My
Oh,
wife is
oh,
doing her PhD here,
which college town is this now?
Indiana State University.
Indiana State University. Oh, what is she getting her PhD in?
Uh, Earth and Environmental Science.
How did you guys meet?
Family friends. We are both from Kolkata. We know each other for a long time.
Mm,
So,
that's awesome. কলকাতার কোথায়?
হাজরা, কালীঘাট,
আচ্ছা, South Calcutta.
দিদির বাড়ির পাশে,
Is she from there? Is her house there?
right there, like 5-10 minutes away.
So যেতে আসতে দেখা হয় দিদির সঙ্গে?
আহ, না, আগে আগে আম, জায়গাটা খুব অ্যাক্সেসিবল ছিল, এখন আর নেই। এখন
হুম।
মানে দেখে মনে হবে ইউএস এম্বাসির পাশ দিয়ে যাচ্ছি।
ও, এত
তো
ব্যারিকেড ফ্যারিকেড।
ব্যারিকেড প্লাস ওরা লাইক দে কোয়েশ্চেন ইউ কোথায় যাচ্ছ।
তোমার বাড়ি ওখানে থাকলেও?
আমার বাড়ি ওকে থাকে না, মানে আমি হয়তো কোনো বলতে গেলাম যে ও আছে আমার বন্ধুর বাড়ি, বন্ধুদের নিয়ে গেলাম, এই দেখ দিদির বাড়ি। তো
হুম।
একবার নিয়ে গেছিলাম, এমন এক্সপিরিয়েন্স হয়েছে, বন্ধুরা বলে থাক ভাই। আহ,
মানে এত কিছু ঝামেলা to just see Mamata Banerjee's house is a little bit much.
ইয়ে ইয়ে
Much
জাস্ট
respect to Didi. Much respect to Didi. But still. But which কোথায় কলেজ করেছো তুমি? College and school?
নবনালন্দা অ্যান্ড জলপাইগুড়ি গভর্নমেন্ট ইঞ্জিনিয়ারিং কলেজ।
Oh, okay. Happy is like sitting here listening to
এত বাংলা সকাল সকাল শুনে অনেক ভালো লাগছে।
she was
But I
like
don't want to interrupt.
বাঙালি বাঙালি পডকাস্টে চলে এসেছি ইবিওয়ানের কথা হবে কিন্তু বাঙালি the thing is like বাঙালিদের এত ছটা ইবিওয়ানের জায়গায় কারণ যে আমরা সবাই like everyone is so bookish and
হ্যাঁ,
there is all these PhDs who are getting EB1s and postdocs and a lot of us are in those areas like finally being nerdy is paying off it seems like so
yes,
ইন্ডিয়া,
because after
ভেরি ট্রু।
Vikiron then we have like Rudro who's coming 2 weeks before I'm like
হ্যাঁ,
বাঙালির যা তা অবস্থা হচ্ছে পুরো আহ, আরেকজন আছে প্রাণেশ বিশ্বাস and he's such a nice guy তো সেদিন একটা বিরাট বড় আমাকে মেসেজ পাঠিয়েছে বাংলায় পুরো আহ শুনে বেশ
ভালো।
ভালো লাগলো যাই হোক অন্যদেরকেও ডাকি this is all being recorded so whoever is
ও
looking at recording the first 5 minutes is going to be Didi.
বাংলা যেভাবে
This
আল্লাহ
thing is
যারা
all
বাঙালি
being
এসেছে।
recorded. Oh my
They are
God.
like, they are like, I thought I'm like getting all this information about EB1. I was not looking for a deep dive into West Bengal culture, but here we are.
Which is not a
Okay, I
bad
now have
reason.
to think about what I say. Uh,
Listen, I mean, you can say nothing wrong. How is everybody else? Ganesh, Satish, Manas, Raj, how's it going?
Doing good, Aditi. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Who's watching the India versus Pakistan game tomorrow? Mm, anyone? Nobody? Nobody's excited
I
about the
think I
game tomorrow?
think there was a lot of excitement about the USA versus Pakistan game, right?
Yes, a disproportionate amount. It seems like a personal win because half of USA's team is
Only
Indian.
more than half.
Yeah, which I think this guy who's been doing the rounds, the captain of the team, I think he has unconsciously um, planted a dream in every guy coming from India to get his masters, he's like, okay, fine. Like even if I mean, all this struggle for H1B is worth it if I can play for the US cricket team against Virat Kohli. So another dream has been planted among the boys of India. We'll see. We'll see. The dollar and the cricket team is going to keep people here, is what I think so. Anybody actually watched the Pakistan USA game, or are we just rejoicing with the outcome?
Just
Like,
read it on LinkedIn.
yeah, that guy. So I went to his profile yesterday, and I saw this guy has like what 2,000 followers, and today in the morning I woke up, it's 20,000. I'm like, man, people are really excited. His win seems to be a personal win, which is great. Good to see people excelling,
Yeah.
not just in academia but everywhere else.
Yeah, I saw like a post by Robert Weber on this. That was my first post, and he said like one of the benefits of the visa bulletin. Now that the USA team has beat Indian Pakistan, sorry, the Pakistan cricket. Like what's that mean? Then I understood like, oh, this is what it is.
That's what it means. Yeah. Robert Weber has opinions which I don't know if I fully support him or not. Sometimes he's right on the money, but other times I like to my eyebrows raise seeing
Mm.
some things that he says. So I do like Mayank Agarwal's post. I'll put it in the chat. I really like what he said yesterday. I don't know if anybody has seen it. Give me one sec. Let me put it in the chat. We are still talking about EB1. Don't worry. Yeah, this is not going to be a cricket podcast.
Yeah, that's a good clarification.
Yeah.
People might be confused.
Yeah, like I was here to think, like understand EB1B, what is going on. How are people? Anugu Arun Reddy, how are you, my friend?
I'm good.
Awesome. Where's everybody calling from? I know Bikiran is in Indianapolis. I'm in Jersey. Anybody who has woken up in the West Coast? Sankalp, Soheli, Sumit, Yogesh, where are you guys calling from?
I'm calling from Baltimore.
Baltimore. Nice. What do you do in Baltimore?
I'm a civil engineer.
Why do you sound so depressed about it, man?
Nothing like that. Just woken up, so yeah. Had a
I
late
was
night
about
party.
to say that.
I'm a civil engineer. Could have been an electrical one, but nope. Wanted to fix these roads and how, like, trains. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Good. I don't want to keep you away from Bikiran. He's the star of the show today. And I don't know how we became friends, Bikiran. What was the genesis of me and you talking with each other? Do you remember?
I think I started following you at some point in LinkedIn,
Mm.
and then we had the conversation after I posted in that Slack group that I got
What's
the
the EB1? Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Then we
Anybody?
had a conversation.
Yeah. And the only thing that I remember from Bikiran's conversation are two things actually, which he's going to talk about, I'm sure. One of them is how he took a little bit of a detour, an unconventional one, for that matter, where he was a teaching, he took a teaching job before he made the leap from academia to industry, which I thought was a very, very unique pivot point. And the other thing that I remember, he told me when I asked him, like, what would you have done differently, Bikram, looking back? And he said, I would have gotten my priority date through EB2 and IW faster. So those are the two things that I remember from our conversation. But if people are not in the Slack community, I've put the link over here. Please join. That's what Bikiran was talking about. All right, Bikiran, I am excited once again to listen to your story. And the way this session is going to go from 12:05 to close to 12:25 to 12:30, Bikiran is going to share about his story. And then from 12:30 to 1 p.m., you'll have a one-on-one opportunity to ask him questions and get your doubts clarified. Bikiran is an incredible academic and a successful professional. He got his PhD and now he is a senior consultant at Hitachi. So I'm excited to hear again from you, Bikiran, and I'll give the floor to you.
Okay, thank you, Aditi, for the very kind words, and thank you everyone for joining in on this Saturday afternoon, morning, wherever you are, and taking the time to listen to me, and I hope I can do justice with that. So without further ado, let me try to share my screen, at least my slide. Okay, so is my slides visible?
Yeah, you wanna probably put it in full screen?
Yeah, right. So it should be full screen now. All right. So
It's not
um,
yet though.
it's not full screen yet?
Mm, uh,
Okay.
click on the chat list. Yeah, this one should go full screen now.
Is it?
No, I don't know why that's happening. Maybe it's opening up in another tab.
Okay, wait. Let me try again. Entire screen. What
Yeah,
about now?
this is good. Yeah, awesome.
Okay. All right. So, about me, I'm from Kolkata, India, Bengali, like Aditi, some of you might have already guessed by now. Um, so I came to the US in 2013. And before that, I did my bachelor's in electrical engineering from WPUT, which stands for West Bengal University of Technology, but the college was Jalpaiguri Government Engineering College. Not sure if many people have heard about that. But anyway, so I came right out of graduation after I graduated there to Georgia Southern University in the US for my master's in electrical engineering. Um, Not many people I've talked to have heard about this university for, I mean, at that time, good reason. It was not really ranked. It was a small university. I basically came there because I got a teaching assistant position there and it was fully funded. My parents were not that happy because I I also had a landed a government job, a central government job after graduation, and I didn't want to do it. And the Indian parents, they're very loving about government jobs and all the security. But anyway, I decided I wasn't ready to settle down yet. So I went ahead and I took a leap to come to the USA. Thankfully, I had a very good advisor at that time, and we published a lot of papers during the 2 years I was there. And I mean, I'm getting the rewards now with the EB1 process. But I mean, at that time, we were, focused on the academics. And then 2015 to 16, I was a instructor, electrical engineering instructor at Southeast Missouri University. Um, Aditi mentioned about this. This is basically, um, I why did I take this opportunity? It was basically because I was looking for jobs, and my first preference was industry, but I wasn't getting any offers because maybe like the visa situation or whatever. But ultimately, I got to know about this opportunity and then I took it and I stayed there for a year. And then, but it was a contractual job. So anyway, I decided I was ready for something else and I applied for a PhD in electrical engineering at Illinois Tech Chicago. Spent long 6 years there to finish up my PhD. But that job search process was very smooth. I landed a couple of internships, and one of them turned into a full-time job as a power system consultant at Hitachi Energy, where I am now for about 3 years now. And I also was like a teaching assistant, a TA, or a research assistant during my PhD through this entire time. So thankfully, all of this education, these long years of education, was fully funded. And they also count towards the EB1B process or eligibility, which I'll talk about a little bit later. So yeah, so now let's get to the topics which you are all here about. So first, I'll start off with my timeline for the EB1B process. So it started in September 2022, when I had the first discussion with my manager on the green card sponsorship. I had done the research, okay, when I'm eligible for this. And it was like after 1 year of full time, and then um, they also want you to have an H1B, otherwise your chances of staying in the US might be low. But anyway, that's when I qualified, and I talked to him right away. He was very supportive, and he started the process right there and then. But you see, the next is April 2023, so that's like about 8 months when I had the first contact with the company lawyer. So what happened during these 8 months? Basically, all the approvals needed for the process, and then like HR had to talk to lawyers and had to go through forms and signing and all that, and it was very slow. So anyway, so that's one thing I'm going to talk about a little bit more later on. And then from April 2023 to December 19, the process involved drafting recommendation letters, um, getting it all reviewed and applying and all that. So that was what I was doing for those, again, 8 months. So in December I filed, I paid for the premium processing, and in about 8, 9 days it got approved, the EB1B. At that time, when I was filing, this was my profile. Let me switch to a pointer. So about 12 publications, two of them IEEE journals, rest IEEE conferences, um, about 40, 45 paper reviews, and 200 plus citations. Moving on. So highlights, takeaways. Um, So as I mentioned, I knew my timeline. I didn't wait to had that conversation with my manager about sponsorship. I see some colleagues. Uh, I heard a sound there. Was that something?
Yeah, that's people coming in because you're a host.
Okay.
You'll hear that.
Okay. Okay.
That's
All
not
right. Okay. So yeah, just I advise anyone not to do that. Make sure you start the conversation as soon as possible. Don't be shy about it. Um, Follow up regularly with your manager HR. I mean, that's what I did to move the process along. Those long 8 months I was talking about. Um, I followed up every 2 weeks, and then that I think that really helped the process to move along. Like faster, if that is fast. So yeah, definitely do that when you're in the same situation. Had to convince my lawyer that I am EB1 eligible. So this was interesting to me. I had thought that, once I would have a conversation with lawyer, they would review my profile and they would give suggestions. But none of that happened at first. I just got an email that, your EB2 process has started. And then there was back and forth, I was asking them, like, I think I may be eligible for EB1, and they're like, no, we don't think you are. And then I had to convince them, like, okay, this is my profile, this is my Google Scholar, this is my number of reviews at that time. And then they changed their mind. They're like, okay, yeah, you're eligible. So and then the rest of that was smooth. Final comment here that the lawyer did not share the final petition with me. I had thought that that would have been the case, that I would get to see what they're sending out. But they said that, we can answer questions you have, but we're not going to share it with you. So I never got to see what they sent. And, that caused some additional stress during those decision days. But thankfully, they did a good job. So that's why I got the approval, I guess. So yeah, so I think that's regarding the process. So I I'll just move on. And so the rest of these are basically like some insights which I want to share, and hopefully it helps you guys. So first, regarding the eligibility. So how to determine your eligibility. Um, there are lots of free consultations out there for EB1B, EB2, NIW, all those things. So I put here independent because I'm not talking about your company lawyer. So do an independent consultation to make sure you understand your prospects. Do your own research on this topic. Lots of good articles out there talking about the criteria and everything. I'll talk a little bit about that also. But yeah, I definitely recommend doing your own research. Talk to peers who have gone through this process. Very, very important, I think, point for me. I talked to other friends, colleagues who had done this before, and it really helped. We are part of this Slack community, uh, which Aditi, I think it's Aditi's, yeah, initiative, but it also really helped providing information, providing support, all those things. So I think there's a link on the chat if you're not already on there. These two things in red, I am guilty of doing that, and I don't, and I mean, this is like something you shouldn't do, is to listen to people who are not very familiar with the process, who have just heard it from somebody else, and then they might intimidate you. Like I had friends say, oh, you need to have like 500, 600 citation to be eligible for EB1B. Somebody saying, oh, don't you have to be like a full-time researcher? Isn't it like something only Nobel laureates or somebody like that gets, things like that? So, I mean, I almost got intimidated by those comments, and I almost never looked into it. But thankfully, I changed my mind. So yeah, I mean, these terms like Einstein, visa, outstanding researcher slash professor, I don't know why they put it like that, but I mean, it's not the reality. So, am I doing good on time? Aditi, uh, uh, well, I'll just skip ahead. Just stop me if I'm, talking too much. Um, all right. So the criteria. Um, so I have a simplified version here and a long version here. I'm not going to talk about the long version. You can, this is from the Chain website, but there are lots of articles telling you about all the details. I'm going to talk about my simplified version, and it's also my understanding or opinion. So, I mean, if anybody disagrees, please put feel free to chime in. But anyway, so what I understand is that you need to be in a teaching or research experience. You need to have that for about 3 years, at least 3 years. And I think here, you know, let's say if you're a TA, teaching assistant, or a research assistant in a university, I think that also counts. So while you're doing a master's or a PhD, if you have that, you can show that. Working full time as a professor, researcher, I mean, they state it in the qualification, but I think it's a soft criteria because I'm not a full-time professor or researcher. I'm a consultant. I mean, we do it from time to time, but I mean, it's not our main job. And my lawyer, I mean, I had put it I mean, asked it to my lawyer also. They didn't seem too worried about it also. But I mean, it's there, so you might consider it. If you fulfill this criteria, very good. If not, it's still okay. So, and I mean, popular criteria set, I mean, this is kind of the popular for researchers out there. So in like 3 bullet points, papers or patents, reviews of other papers and citations. This is what I've seen people go by for EB1. So like if you have a decent number of papers, good number of reviews of other conference papers, thesis, judging, posters, all those things, those count, and citation number. So regarding the numbers and threshold, I'll talk about it in a bit, but yeah, just a high level overview. But there are also less popular criterias, which they are less popular because it's harder to fulfill these criteria. So like national/international prizes, um, I don't know, it might be a long list, but I mean, you will understand what this means. Hard-earned academic memberships. So I don't think we're talking about like normal IEEE or ASME memberships here, like maybe IEEE more senior memberships, fellows, National Academy of Engineering. I think these refer to that. And magazines, articles, or other articles about you praising your academic achievements. So, I mean, these are all there for you to consider. And if you can prove these kind of things, that's really good, but it's slightly harder at least. So, okay. So, you know, the thresholds, in my opinion, again, or what I've heard regarding you being eligible for an EB1B. So, number of papers greater than 5, and by papers I mean journal or conference papers. Number of citations greater than 100, number of reviews greater than 10. So these, in my opinion, seem to be like the typical preferences of company lawyers. If you go for, I mean, for an EB1B, I think there's constraints regarding going outside. But I know that, some lawyers are more strict than others, and that's probably because they want to have a high success rate. But the fact I want to point out is that US CIS can approve with less. They don't have such a rigorous uh, threshold, is what I'm saying. And this is so this is from this link right here. And it's a very, to me, it was a very kind of enlightening link there. It's like a PDF from a lawyer organization. They had a lot of material here regarding, I think there are 200 or something approved cases from 2020 to older, but it shows you like a distribution of the approved cases, and you see like, from 0 to 5 even papers they got approved. 5 to 10 seems to be like a good frequency. Citations, I mean, 100 is not really the set in stone number. They have a lot of statistics there where it says they got people with less than 50 citations approved. So there is a chance if your lawyer is going to go with it. And number of reviews, I mean, it could be less than 10, but you can still be eligible. So, I mean, one last point here I want to add is that EB1B approval rates are relatively high compared to EB1A. I've seen these kind of numbers, 80 to 90%. So you have a good chance to get it approved if your lawyer is with you. So yeah, I just wanted to put it out there. Okay, so the next item is building your review or judge profile quickly. And this is what I did. I have two numbers here. So Jan 2023, when I'm kind of starting out with the process, I just had 2 paper reviews. Whereas when I filed, I had 45 or something papers. So within a span of 1 year, I think this is a good improvement, and and it's one of those low hanging fruits if you're kind of building out your profile. for the EB1. And I just wanted to share some tips on how I managed to do that. So whenever I started working on it, I started emailing conference committee members, journal editors that I want to volunteer as a reviewer. Um, I joined domain-specific academic email list. So I'm in like power and energy, and we have a email chain called Power Globe, where all the professors and lots of industry people are there, and the committee, conference, journal members, editors, they post out, CFPs, call for papers, and I aggressively volunteered for those. And most of the time I heard back they needed people to help out. And that's made the main reason I was able to, get so many reviews in a relatively short time. You can sign up at MDPI. They put out you can just go and sign up as a volunteer reviewer. Um, you can talk to your advisor and see if he has some review opportunities for you. The Slack community also, I think, from time to time posts out reviewing opportunities, so make sure you use that. Um, Ask colleagues or friends to read out. I mean, if you know people who are involved in the review process and they're busy, just tell them like, okay, I'm free. You can send it to me. You know, you can build your profile that way. And finally, document your review work. So review reports, thank you emails, whatever comes along your way, save it. You never know what might be useful during your filing. Um, okay, so this is basically what I did for those 8 months after the conversation with the lawyer started. This was the major bottleneck. So it takes time. I think it depends on the lawyer, but some lawyers draft it for you. In my case, I had to draft it and they reviewed it for me. So these were some of the guidelines and one of the points I added myself. But anyway, so how to select your recommendation or recommendation candidates? So you need to have a mix of in domestic, and this should be international. So basically, people from inside the US and outside the US, mix of academic and industry professionals, mix of dependent and independent recommenders. So what does this mean? Dependent means people who you know personally, like your advisor, your somebody you did your internship with. You cannot use somebody from your company which is sponsoring you. I mean, that carries less weight. So you need to go out of your company for the EB1B. Um, and independent means people who don't know you personally. So like people you met at conferences, people who have cited your work, that's very important source. So things like people like those. So have a mix of those. I think having more independent makes it better for you. But you need to at least have one or two in your set. And this is something which I mean, if good to have, is that I mean for the independent at least, if you find somebody who's going to say, okay, I actually used your research and it helped mine move along, but they're not like some big shot, that that carries more weight than you use somebody who's like a celebrity in your domain, but who's not going to say those things for you. It'd be like superficial things. So I've heard that this has more of an impact, and it makes sense because you're trying to prove that your research is changing the world. Um so 4 to 6 recommendation letters should be enough. You can have more, but I mean, at some point it becomes repetitive. So, keep that in mind. And then what to include in the letters. So the person who's recommending you their credentials, do not understate um, how they know you. If they don't know you, mention that. It carries more weight. Research, contributions, and applications. So What did you do in the research that is so novel? Was it something totally new? Did you improve on something, make it better, faster, easier? Highlight that. Applications, how it is changing the world, how it is helping US national interest, where was it published? Journals carry more weight than conferences in general. Was it cited widely? If it did, then mention that. Did you review for major journals? So that can show that, you know, uh, especially if you reviewed multiple times, that can show that they're coming back to you, they respect you, your achievements, and that may carry weight. Mix it up, meaning that, I mean, if you're writing your own letters, use templates. There are online templates and all that, or some, and like use whatever resource you have to mix up the writing style, content, and structure. I mean, it needs to be like somebody reading it, you need to convince them that, or at least you need to present it like different people are writing for you, and so make sure it's not repetitive and it all doesn't look the same. So what I did is like I listed my different research contributions and all that, and the whole package, and then I kind of first planned, okay, I'm going to use this on this letter, I'm going to use that part on that letter, things like that. So yeah, so that is the tip on that. And so this is my last slide. And I added this more of an afterthought on, citation count. This is basically going to be your biggest barrier if you're going to use this route, and you don't have much control over it, really. I mean, you can just grow your citation count very quickly. It You need patience, it takes time. But I mean, still, I I wanted to share some ideas to help you out if this is an obstacle. So I just listed some ideas here, such as open access journals. So I think these really help to increase your citation count quicker. It definitely helped me. If you go to my Google Scholar, like some of the highest counts were from open access stuff, I think journals, but they also cost more. So keep that in mind. Advertise your work, example on LinkedIn. There are other platforms you prefer. Go ahead. Collaborate with the widely cited authors. This is something I hear that if and I mean if you have access to that, like for example, if your advisor is widely known or something, then having them or somebody like that, I've seen that help grow the citation count quicker because they're like a brand, and then people want to cite them, so it helps you also. Trendy topics, um, and so this makes sense that if you're working on something like, I don't know, AI or whatever, which are hot topics, then chances are you'll get higher citation rather than if you're working on a research where there's not much interest. So, I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory. So, I mean, if you have this option, and it might help you. Publish review papers. So, I mean, if you don't have anything novel research or anything like that right now, this could be another option to have an extra paper. Um, you will have to review a lot of papers to do this, but I mean, these papers also have a potential for a citation count because a lot of people just cite other work that's done, so it can help. I've seen it helping a lot of my peers. And finally, it's not here, but like I know that Aditi has um, like a spreadsheet where everybody has put out their research interest, their profile, and you can use that to kind of find collaborators and publish. You publish more, you get more citation. That's basically it. So um, that brings me to the end. I don't know how I did on time. think I did okay. Aditi,
You did great.
what's next?
You did wonderful. I put
Okay.
the Shubhodubur to you, to Shayan. Thank you so much. I have put the Excel sheet that Vikiran kind of touched upon, that is pinned to the Slack community EB1 queries channel. I'm putting a whole bunch of URLs in the chat because I want you all to get everything out of this call. This is also a Excel sheet that I have compiled. If you want to benchmark yourself against other EB1A and EB1B recipients, it has a list of 23 EB1 recipients, so you can download that and that should kick you off in your EB1 journey. But I'll tell you why I really like having PhDs as speakers, because they do stuff like this. They will have statistics and they will have citations and they will have sources for you. And I love that. Thank you so much, Vikiran. There's so many things that I learned from this talk, even after getting my EB1. That's why I really like bringing people to these talks, because every single time my brain gets rewired in a way where I can guide people, and you can always learn new things that you would have missed in somebody else's talk. So thank you so much. This was an amazing talk. I'm going to give the floor up to people.
Yeah, just one thing I want to mention. I just put it in the chat as well because we were talking about links. But you definitely go check it out if you're at the evaluation phase. It really helps. It has a lot of statistics and makes you confident that, because a lot of people might intimidate you. A lot of conversations might intimidate you regarding EB1, but it's not really that hard. So definitely check it out. And yeah, sorry, Aditi.
No, this is great. I thank you so much for putting it in the chat. I even bookmarked it myself. All right, I don't want people to not have an opportunity to talk with you. So please raise your hands. Do a little bit of a hand raise symbol. Hit that, and then we'll go through the list one by one. I can only see Yogesh's hand. So folks, if you have questions that you put in the chat, put your hands up. And we have time till 1:10-ish, Vikiran. If we can give some time extra, if that is cool.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
That's
all right,
fine.
Yogesh, please keep it to one question per person. Do not sandwich in, I have a small question appendix. No, one question. All right, Yogesh.
All right, thank you. Thanks for the insights, Bikir, and also thanks, Aditi, for hosting this. I have like one question, pretty much like I just tried to combine everything into one. So I'm a fourth year PhD now. I'm hoping to graduate in 8 to 10 months. I don't have citations count yet. That is something that I want to build on, which is obviously going to take some time. So I looked into this process of applying for EB2 NIW first, getting a priority date. Then later, when my profile is ready for EB1, apply to that and get the priority date ported. So the question here is the word ported. I had never really understood how this works, how the priority date can be ported from EB2 NIW to EB1 later on. I know once I have that date, obviously it'll be current as why people suggest that. But how does that work? How does the porting work? Have you had any experience with that?
I don't know the exact process of porting. I just know that it's available and it's what you just said. Like, let's say you file an EB2 NIW today, you get a priority date of June 8th, 2024, and that date is now the date for you. So later on, you build your EB1 profile, you get it approved. Your date is still June 8th, 2024, even though your EB1 got approved in, let's say, 2025. So,
Correct.
so you are reserving your spot in that waiting list.
Right.
So
Yeah, that
maybe
part I understood. Like, it's just the porting. Like, how do we change that priority date? Like, is it same
So,
for irrespective of EB2 application and EB1 application?
when you are filing your I-485, that's when it kicks in. So if you're going through a lawyer, then your lawyer will ask you, to the best of my knowledge, that's what my lawyer asked me, that if you have any priority date earlier, then they can include that in your petition. But that's not something you need to worry about right now. This is still your I-140 phase. So I would get that done before you think about I-485. But yeah, your I-485 ports when you get into the I-485 phase.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Of course. Arpita, go for it.
Hey, so my question is, so currently, so I don't have a PhD. I work as an applied scientist. I work for a product, but we do a lot of things with algorithms, modeling in AI, and put that algorithm in production, right? So I also know, I'm informed about the criterias. I attended Aditi's EB1A boot camp. But from EB1B, I wanted to understand like the teaching, the 3 years of teaching and researcher experience. Does industry scientist experience count, or it has to be like a core PhD researcher experience that I need to come up with? Just trying to understand if I can apply for EB1B. Because other things like paper, patents, reviews, citations, I can work my profile through it and get through it. But what about the teaching and research experience?
Yes, I think for that it should count. I mean, the job description or not job titles makes me think that it um like there is some sort of research in there. So I would say so that you should think that you can include it. I don't know if anybody else has other opinions. And it should also apply to this, are you working currently as a professor or researcher? I mean, as I mentioned, consultant is in that sort of category. So, but everything still worked out. So, I don't know how strict they're about these criterias. So, that's my opinion.
Yeah.
So,
I can also chime in. I'll give you the referrals to three people. They're all in the Slack community, by the way. One of them is Praneeth Datta. He is in Google. He's a research scientist, and he's a non-PhD, but he got his EB1 done. You can look up Praneeth Datta Topmate. He should have one. The other person who I can think about is Abhinav Sadasiv Rao. He is in NVIDIA, and you can reach out to him as well. And then the third person is Tamanna Ramesh. She's also a food scientist in Coca-Cola, non-PhD, and they were all able to get their EB1B. So it does not really, getting a PhD is not a precursor to being an outstanding researcher.
right, right.
And your job title does not necessarily have to reflect the word researcher for you to be able to claim this category. So I would reach out to those three people. I put their names in the chat as well. But does that help?
Yes, I think Tamanna was there in the boot camp. Yes. Cool. Yeah. Understood. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
and just one last point. Again, I'm like a broken record here, but this link right here, it also shows you like what was their job title. So, I mean, I remember seeing a lot of, people who were not researchers or whatever. They didn't have, I don't know if they said PhD or whatever, but definitely go check that out. It will give you a better picture on the statistics.
Understood. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Yeah.
Shreyan, go for it.
Hey, hi Aditi. Thanks for the session. So I just wanted to know, I think even my company has the immigration lawyer as Fragoman, and you mentioned in your presentation that you helped
Right.
you helped Fragoman to prove that you are EB1B. So what are the things which you did? And a follow-up to that question, right? So how did whether you helped them writing the EB1B, because Fragoman, at least with my interaction with them so far, they're not that much research or technical savvy. How did you ensure that you put across all the points which you mentioned and it is the way you wanted to?
Okay. So, first question, how did I convince them? I mean, they asked me for some documents, and I think that was like not documents. They asked for my Google Scholar profile, and they asked for my how many reviews have I done, and can you break them down for me? So I did that, and essentially that convinced them because at that time I had a good enough citation count and I think 10 or more reviews. So I think that ticked off their check marks. So that's question one. Question two was regarding the EB1 petition. The only thing I gave to them was I mean, besides all the evidence on DB1 related stuff, like all paper or copies of my publication, evidence of reviews, and the recommendations letters I drafted, they reviewed, and then they sent out. Then I sent out for signing. That is, so I gave them that stuff. They prepared the petition. So I mean, I think they have like a sort of a template where they just fill in the blanks with what I give them, and they send it out. And I don't know why they don't share it. They didn't share it with me. But I mean, I don't know about their technical savviness, but I think they have done this for a while.
Mhm.
So I think they know the process at least.
Got it.
So, but I mean, in my case, they were very efficient. They replied very quickly. But I've heard cases where they were not. So I mean, it's a case to case by case basis, really. So
Yeah,
you might have a different experience. Is what I'm saying.
yeah. Because I thought like they're a little bit more generic, catering to a wider audience. They should. I think ideally, from what I'm hearing, that they would have spent enough time with your profile and ensure that they have the important points checked, so that at the end of the day, your petition got approved. So they know how to get
That's
the
all I
things.
know. I don't know how long they spent on the profile and the petition, but at least it got approved.
Thanks. Thank you so much, Vikram.
Mhm.
All right. Something that Vikiran said, which I also have heard from other folks. I'll put this person's profile in the chat. His name is Arun Vishwanath. And while the reason I'm putting this in is because something that Vikiran said, how do you increase your citation count? There is no hack to increase your citation count. So from the point of view of like how do you increase sales for your movie, right? You make a good movie, then the movie sells, but there are strategic ways in which you can build that movie, and one of them is meta-analysis that Bikiron touched upon, that like write review papers, review other people's work. And when I talked to this person, Arun Vishwanath, he said he did exactly that. That is, he did a meta-analysis of other papers so that when new researchers write papers, they need to cite somewhere. So your paper becomes a catch-all for them. So if you are investing time in writing papers, I would invest in doing meta-analysis. I would invest in what Bikiran said for sure.
Yeah, and that's a very common practice in the research world. Like, just people who are, very bent on papers. Besides doing new work, I see this review paper thing all the time. So
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, yeah. Thanks, Aditi.
Anusha, of course. Anusha, go for it.
Hi, so I think I have a similar question when you said like maintain collaboration or establish collaborations with researchers so that you can work with widely cited authors. So right now I'm working at a research hospital in India, and based on my own experience when I was in US, it was easier for me to establish collaborations because I was at a university or working with a professor who kind of was the main person I was collaborating with. And I'm concerned about like would my location in India or a university kind of really determine what collaborations I can establish, because the brand name kind of really matters? Or how would you suggest going about establishing these collaborations?
I don't think there is any geographical preference on the research. I mean, the person can be from anywhere. I was just talking about increasing citations. So if your professor or the person you're talking about is like a brand, then I've seen that skyrocket other people's citation. So I, I don't think the USCIS is gonna go that nitpicky on okay which paper, which person were in that paper. I think my understanding is that they look at certain statistics and they go from there. So to your question, I don't think it matters whether the collaboration from India or the US. I mean, if it's the US, maybe there's a domestic bias, but I have never seen anything like that. So Aditi, do you have any thoughts on that?
Listen, I try to keep things pretty straightforward and pretty real. USCIS or any Western institution does have a West bias, right? So this is also very dominant in the education / academic world, which is supposed to be for the truth of knowledge, but we all know that's far from the truth. So there is, whenever you even look at journal rankings, the top 10 journals are never from Asia. The top 10 journals are always from Europe and the US, right? So there is an inherent Western bias that you're working with, right? So if you do have a research portfolio and most of your publications, presentations, etc., are Asia forward, well, that's great, but then you need to provide that much more contextual information / documentation to prove your legitimacy, right? That you don't have to do that heavy lift if it's a European / American based journal. That is the core truth. I wish I could sugarcoat it, but there is no other way. We are here to get our EB1s done, not to change the face of society. So play with what you're given.
So I think my question to I think that's where my question is coming from. Given this bias, how do we establish those research collaborations? Is it important for me to really seek to move to Europe or US, or is there a way I can establish these collaborations while I'm in India as well?
Yeah, see, a talent is talent, right? So if you can demonstrate your value to a researcher, and you show them that they don't have to spoon feed you, or then there is legitimate gain that they have from collaborating with you, then I don't see why not, right? As a matter of fact, like, I collaborated with somebody who's a professor in Singapore, but it was a win for me because he had a glowing research career. But I also know that he collaborated with a whole bunch of professors during his time at UC Davis. So at the end of the day, it just comes down to the kind of value that we can show. Bikiran, would you add something to that?
No, I think that's a great answer. I mean, it depends on, I mean, your options also. Like, I mean, moving to someplace else. I mean, if you have that option, and I mean, definitely it seems that there's more of a bias than I thought. Then that's something else. But like, I mean, yeah, like what Aditi said, like, talent is talent. So you just have to prove more, I guess, during your application. Is that?
I mean, I'm just thinking from strategic point of view when I'm approaching professors whom I do want to work with. And this is again my experience. Like when I reached, and especially this was even when I am from Cornell. And when I reached out to professors, they would usually be like, we already have enough students working for us. We don't want you. Like, even if I'm like speaking to them face to face, they're really impressed or whatever, they would not give me an opportunity to work with them because I am not like, their student or at the university or in their department. So how can I be strategic while I'm approaching them so that they give me the chance, even if they recognize my talent? What would be
I think, in this perspective, I mean, I think your research and your, interests come before EB1. I mean, you also need to be comfortable with people you are working with. So, I mean, if you're facing things like, oh, I don't have time, I don't have this and that, then, I mean, first and foremost, you're doing research, right? You want people to share that research and then get acknowledgement for it. That comes first. And then if you're doing good research, your citation count will grow. So, so I think you should think in that perspective rather than from an EB1 perspective. So that would be my 2 cents there.
Yeah. Also look for assistant professors. Those people are hungry. Like, they are in the hunt for getting tenure. So they are much more open to hustling. And I would focus
Very true.
on that, right? Because I knew what I was like when I was going up for tenure. So they are much more hungrier. So be strategic. This is something that I have used in my profile as well, that start small and then use the wins that you get from those small opportunities to sell yourself to bigger opportunities. That increases your credibility as well as your trust in yourself to deliver. I hope that was helpful.
Yeah, I mean, I think, can you just give me 2 or 3 examples of small wins, which will make it easy for me to get these collaborations?
Yeah, so that's the let's talk offline because I don't
Sure,
want
sure.
to give.
Sorry about that. Yeah,
Yeah,
sure. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
of course. Avi, go for it.
Hi, Bikiran. Hi, Aditi. Thanks for
Hi.
organizing this. This was really insightful. So, I have been in a similar situation as you just shared that Fragment didn't share the petition with you. My petition was also not shared with me when I got my O1. So then the question comes that we actually are the best people to judge that how our research looks and how it can be portrayed. So in that case, did Fragment at least share the support letter with you? Because I have a question about what you spoke about the 3 years research experience or a teaching experience. So was that shown in that support letter or explicitly in some way in one of your references? And the second question would be that where was your petition adjudicated?
I don't know actually where it was at. IOE, what does that stand for? Do you know, Aditi? I didn't actually look at where it was adjudicated. I mean, having it approved was good enough for me. I can find it out offline. Okay, so that's that question answer. But regarding the support letter, no, they did not share anything with me, basically, period. So I don't know how they framed my profile. I did, talk to them about this 3 year requirement, and I said that, okay, when we are filing, if this is a requirement, then, I can say this, that I work here and here and here, and it should qualify. And they were like, just we have your experience, we have your resume, it looks good. So that was it. So all of this my guess, like, okay, that they use my, let's say, research and teaching experience when I was in university, and maybe some of my consulting time also counted because some of the bullet points in my job description describe research. But I mean, it was good enough. So.
Yeah, the only thing is that I feel that since EB1B is employer associated, that's why if now you know that like your profile already has been evaluated once by USCIS, so you may as well be eligible for EB1A in the near future. You may as well
Right.
want to go to that route if you want to change employers. So
Right.
having some sort of a baseline that you know that this was the material that was used always helps. But for some reason, I mean, I'm assuming that the lawyers just do not want to share their template. It's like their hidden secret
Yeah.
that they want to keep to themselves rather
Yeah,
than
I
your.
don't know the reason. There
Yeah,
could be a lot of reasons. I don't want to
yeah,
speculate here.
yeah. But anyway, thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. One of the reasons that lawyers say that they don't share, and this is again, probably make a post about this, that the most amount of hurdles that I have experienced in my immigration journey did not even involve USCIS. It happened before USCIS. I mean, look at Bikiran. He had to persuade so much. If you go back to his second slide, that's what he said, that he had a conversation with his employer, and when did it actually go to the manager. So a lot of these hurdles that you're going to experience is going to be outside of USCIS. And one of those examples is not being able to see your petition. I too don't know what worked in my petition, right? I was sending lawyers letters and everything till the last day. And then I remember my lawyer saying, "Oh, Dr. Paul, I was supposed to write your cover letter today. I'm getting a little late. I'll submit the application tomorrow." And I shudder thinking about how many things could have gone wrong. So a lot of the things, as much as we make it about merit, as we make it about how rigorous you are, it really sometimes does come down to luck.
Yeah, true. Absolutely.
Yeah. So don't be so hard on yourself. You're doing the best you can. Pradnya Rao.
Hi, Aditi, and hi, Pikiran, for the great presentation. I just have a quick question. Is it advisable to get your priority date when you are on F1?
Good question. Um,
Because I do
well,
travel internationally frequently for work and personal reasons. So,
right.
any
Yeah,
thoughts?
I mean, especially when you include India in that context, because, F1 is a non-immigrant visa. So, if the officer can prove that you have immigration intent, then you will be rejected at some point. So, like, for example, just from the perspective of getting a green card, having your, let's say, NIW approved during your studies is a good idea for the priority dates. But then what if you are stuck in F1 and OPT for a while and you don't switch to H1B fast enough, right? Then what
Yeah.
happens since you now have immigration intent with the EB2 NIW?
There was
So,
some recent changes that was made, right? I think is that the reason for your question? There was some
Yeah,
recent changes where
there is a adjudication that USCIS did very recently, and again, I do want to make a disclaimer that none of us are lawyers, and lawyers will say in public forums that they cannot give legal advice. So we are not giving legal advice, but I can summarize what Vikiran, the reason I understand his hesitation is there's always trade-offs, right? That is, yes, you want to secure your petition, your priority date, but not at the cost of your current status. And
right,
what Ganesh was talking about is there was this recent adjudication that was made by USCIS policy change, which says that, yeah, you can apply for your I-140 while still on your F1, because you're kind of demonstrating to the USCIS officer that, look, I know that there are backlogs that are happening. I'm just securing my spot here, right? So you're doing it preemptively. And I asked, there was a conversation that happened at some post that I made on LinkedIn, and Amber Davis, she commented, she's an immigration lawyer, if you follow her, she says that yes, there are these adjudications that are being made, but when you are coming back to the US, it really does come down to the discretion of the CBP officer.
right,
And you are at a position of non-power there, right? You are a non-immigrant who's trying to get back to the US, citing some USCIS law. If they say yes, it's yes. But if they say no, there's only so much that you can do. So lawyers are very cautious, right? You should take it at your own risk, is what it is. And since Pradnya said that she goes in and out, applying for EB2 NIW when you have no plans to cross the border versus applying for NIW when you are crossing the border on your F1, that's a completely different conversation.
exactly.
Okay.
That does not answer your question. I know.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's a tricky subject,
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah, it is honestly tricky. All right. I know Abhikiran has to go. So really quickly, Arpita, and then we'll take Ganesh and we'll wrap it up.
Okay, quick question. So currently, I also emailed my company lawyers and didn't think it. I thought it was smooth, but it wasn't. So now I am at a task to create my own case. So I wanted to ask a quick question. So did you actually, or maybe I missed this, so did you actually go to some outside lawyers to get like understanding and the recommendation letters, or did you draft by yourself?
No, I just drafted by myself.
Got it. Okay.
I
Thank you.
mean, I used some templates, but that was it. I didn't
Understood.
take any other help.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, Ganesh, last one.
Sure. Thanks, Vikram, and thanks, Aditi. And the question I have is basically, I don't have much publications, but I do have 6 patents, which I'm kind of relying upon. And I'm trying to have some discussions with my lawyers. And one of the things that they said is like patents is not specifically considered to be like an original work. It's probably they're trying to treat it as a significant work. But I haven't got much feedback from them, but I don't know if you have any experience with you or probably the people that you work with, how do patents are treated compared to actual publications?
Yeah, that's something I don't have that much experience. I think like maybe it's better to talk, and talk to the lawyer more because I know that patents count, but you have to prove that, it's like some novel thing that you have done and stuff like that. My peers also, I don't know anyone who had used patents, but I mean, let's say you use them. Um, I
They are
mean,
trying to use it in a different criteria than like an original authors type of a thing. Like if you have a papers published or conference papers on your name, that's kind of meeting one criteria, right? But there, at least the lawyers that I'm working with, my company lawyers, they're treating it as a different criteria. They thought like it might be a different criteria,
which
and
criteria are they
that's
treating it as?
probably the significant one. Like with um, I need to look into the actual writing, but there is one is obviously you have citations and recommendation letters kind of citing your work is more significant. But in our case, at least the lawyers are suggesting it's a significant work, but we can't treat it like an original authorship type of a thing. It needs to be in an actual journal publication or conference publications.
Do those patents have like some sort of citation somewhere?
No,
Because I
that's the
know,
problem, right? Unlike the actual publications or journals where people it's open to anyone and everyone, but patents is basically trying to protect your stuff, and you basically don't have much citations on them.
yeah. That's another issue with patents rather than papers. So yeah, unfortunately, I don't think I'm like eligible to speak too much about that because I don't know
Okay.
anybody or I haven't gone through that process. So
I can give you a lead, Ganesh. There is this person, his name is Sunku Ranganath. He's there in the Slack community as well. And he had 3 patents that he used. And patents can get cited, right? You just have to create a Google Scholar account and you have to list your patents, and that's gonna show you the number of people who have used your patents. And you need to get patent certifications, like it has been patented to you, etc. You might do exactly what Bikiran has done for citations, but for patents, that you reach out to people who have used your patent, you show the downstream impact. If your patent has not been used already, then you might want to get letters from your company saying that this patent has just gotten patented, but we can see this changing the field in X particular way. So there are different ways to quantify your work. So patents are the and what Bikiran has also put in one of those, maybe slide number 6, that original contribution of major significance is patents, right? So when you have patents, that's original contribution. You need to show why is it majorly significant, and that's where articulating the impact of your patent through its adoption in other companies comes into the picture.
Okay. And can you repeat that name, please, Aditi?
Sunku Ranganath. So I've put his link in the chat, and Google, just come to the Slack community and look up Sunku, you'll get him. Okay, and if you go to my YouTube channel, he did a talk with us, just like Bikiran's talk as well. So we put that over here, put it over here. Shameless plug of my Slack community, YouTube, LinkedIn.
No, it's you
Promoted
deserve
everything
it.
today.
It's all your hard work.
Awesome. No, but this was incredibly helpful. I know I wanted time till 1:10. So any last words of advice, Bikiran, as people are heading from this weekend, getting started on their EB1?
Don't overthink and don't get intimidated. I mean, it's one of those things which it's hard to avoid, but just do it. Try to be positive because there's a lot of detractors out there. And yeah, I wish you best of luck. So
Awesome. And an important question, do you think anybody is going to score a century from India's team tomorrow?
for me, I don't follow cricket that much. So
Tomorrow everybody's going to follow cricket because India versus Pakistan is happening. But great job, everybody, for sparing an hour from your day and investing in your EB1 growth. Anything else that we can do, happy to. But other than that, I'll see you next week. Next week, somebody's going to come who has 5,000 citations and his lawyer still gave him a problem. So there is no winning here. But we'll figure it out one step at a time. Thanks so much, everybody, for coming through.
thank you.
Take care.
Bye. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you.